Remember that feeling in school? The one where you felt like the teacher was talking to everyone but you? Or maybe you were zoning out because the material was way too easy, or silently drowning because it was way too hard? Now, imagine a classroom that knows exactly where you're struggling, what motivates you, and how you learn best, where the lesson adapts to you, not the other way around. Sounds futuristic, but it's already here, powered by AI. This isn't about robots replacing teachers. It's about something bigger, a full on shift in how learning works, how teaching happens, and how we prepare the next generation for a world that's changing faster than ever. So get ready, because the future of education is not coming, it's already in session. Chapter 1: The Classroom That Adapts to You. Walk into a modern classroom today, and you might still see desks in rows, a whiteboard, and a teacher at the front. But beneath that familiar setup, something fundamental is shifting. It's no longer just about who's teaching, it's about how students are being taught. And increasingly, it's no longer the same lesson delivered to everyone at once. At the heart of this transformation is AI. Quietly, steadily, it's being woven into the fabric of learning, not as a flashy add on, but as a silent layer that understands each student just a little better than the day before. The most immediate shift is in personalization. It used to be a luxury, something only students with tutors or attentive one on one instruction could experience. Now, it's becoming a baseline expectation powered by systems that learn from you, your pace, your missteps, even your learning style. Take Khan Academy's AI tutor, Khan Migo. It doesn't just hand you the answer, it listens, it guides. If you're working through a math problem, it notices where you hesitate, where you backspace, where you give up. And then it offers just enough help to keep you going: a hint, a question, a rephrasing. Over time, it builds a model of how you think, and it adapts. That's not just teaching, that's partnering. Carnegie Learning's Mathia does something similar. It analyzes every click and pause during math exercises, adjusting not just difficulty but strategy. Some students learn best by seeing examples, others by diving into problems. Some need repetition, others need variation. The AI doesn't just know the content, it learns the learner. It's the kind of attention even the best human teachers struggle to give when they're managing dozens of students at once. And that's the point. AI isn't making teachers obsolete, it's giving them back their time. Grading, for example, is one of the most draining tasks in a teacher's week. Enter GradeScope. It doesn't just scan tests, it identifies similar responses and groups them so the teacher can grade by pattern, applying consistent rubrics and leaving human energy for the answers that need thoughtful feedback. It flags anomalies, it tracks common mistakes, it provides analytics that would take hours to compile by hand. The result? Faster turnaround and fairer grading. Not because a machine is smarter, but because it's relentless and it doesn't get tired. Now shift to lesson planning. Any teacher will tell you it's one of the most time consuming parts of the job. Creating quizzes, worksheets, presentations, and differentiated materials for students at varying reading levels is a daily juggling act. AI is easing that load too. Platforms like Diffit let teachers take a single article and instantly generate versions tailored for different reading levels. A science news piece about climate change can become an accessible summary for a fifth grader, a deeper analysis for a high schooler, and an ESL friendly version with vocabulary supports, all from the same source. It's not perfect, but it's a massive leap in making rigorous content reachable. CuriePod and Eduate go a step further. They suggest entire lesson plans based on a single prompt. Teach Cell Division becomes an interactive slideshow, a quiz, and a hands on activity within minutes. That doesn't replace a teacher's judgment, it amplifies it. It takes the blank page problem off the table so the teacher can focus on tailoring, not starting from scratch. And students notice when the material fits them, they show up differently. One middle school in Georgia ran a pilot with adaptive reading software. The teacher said, "For the first time, my struggling readers were asking for more time to read. Not because the content got easier, but because it stopped feeling like a test they were set up to fail." This kind of personalization isn't just nice to have, it can be life changing. For students with disabilities, it's removing long standing barriers. AI powered screen readers don't just recite text, they explain visuals, adapt tone, and offer navigation shortcuts that make content not just accessible but engaging. Speech to text tools help students with dyslexia or fine motor challenges write more freely. Real time translation tools help immigrant students participate in class discussions without waiting for human interpreters. In one classroom in the Netherlands, a student with autism used an AI companion app that helped him express emotions through a visual interface. The teacher said it changed everything, not just how he communicated, but how his peers responded to him. AI didn't just make learning easier, it made connection possible. And then there's engagement, the hardest nut to crack in any classroom. AI is making progress here too through gamification and real time feedback. Duolingo is the classic example. Behind the cute owl and green progress bars is a complex system tracking what you know, how often you forget it, when you're most likely to quit, and what keeps you coming back. It's a game, but it's also deeply pedagogical. The student gets dopamine hits for progress, but also immediate correction, spaced repetition, and challenge that scales with performance. This kind of flow state learning, not too easy, not too hard, is something teachers aim for instinctively. But AI can calibrate it with precision. And once students experience that, worksheets start to feel like a downgrade. All of this paints a compelling picture. But it's not about replacing human intelligence with artificial intelligence. It's about augmenting the classroom so that every student gets more of what they need and every teacher gets more space to teach the way they want to. The AI powered classroom isn't coming, it's already here, quiet, capable, invisible in most cases, not flashy, but transformative. And the more we lean into that transformation with intention, keeping equity, access, and humanity at the center, the more we can turn education into what it was always supposed to be, not a race to the top, but a path where everyone has a real shot at growth. Chapter 2: The Hidden Risks of AI in Schools. For all the promise AI brings to education, there's a side we rarely talk about in press releases or shiny conference demos, the part where things get complicated, even dangerous. Because when you put powerful systems into classrooms, systems that collect data, make decisions, and shape outcomes, you're not just upgrading software, you're rewriting the terms of education itself, and not always in ways we fully understand. Let's start with data. Every personalized interaction, every click, hesitation, wrong answer, right answer, reread sentence feeds the machine. That's what makes AI powerful. It learns. But that also means it's watching constantly. A platform like Dreambox might collect over 50,000 data points per student per hour. That's huge. Every micro interaction becomes a metric. That information helps the system adapt, but it also becomes a digital footprint that follows the student through the system, often without the student or their family realizing just how much of their learning behavior is being captured, stored, and possibly shared. This is where privacy stops being abstract because that data, it's valuable to advertisers, to edtech companies, to researchers. And while some platforms make privacy a priority, others have vague terms buried in fine print, or worse, rely on third-party analytics tools with their own agendas. Parents have started to notice. In 2021, a school district in New York paused its use of a popular reading platform after discovering it was sharing student data with external vendors, not maliciously, just thoughtlessly. But that's enough. In education, careless data handling isn't just a policy failure, it's a breach of trust. And then there's profiling. If an AI system is trained to flag students who are at risk of failure based on historical performance data, what happens when that flag follows a student year after year? Does it trigger extra support or does it quietly lower expectations? We like to think of data as neutral, but it reflects the choices of the people who collect it, the assumptions of the people who build the models, and the biases baked into the systems we are trying to fix. Imagine a predictive model trained on years of standardized test scores from a district where schools in wealthier neighborhoods consistently outperform poorer ones. The AI sees a pattern. Zip code correlates with academic success, and then it starts using that correlation to shape recommendations. Who gets access to advanced classes? Who's offered enrichment? Who gets flagged for remediation? It doesn't take much imagination to see where that leads. This isn't science fiction. These systems are already in use. In one US state, a school district piloted an AI platform to identify high risk students as early as elementary school, using data ranging from test scores to attendance to disciplinary records. It was meant to help, but some teachers raised concerns that the labels stuck and started affecting how students were treated, regardless of current performance. Now, layer on algorithmic bias. AI systems reflect the world they are trained on. And if that world has inequalities, and let's be honest, education is full of them, the AI doesn't correct for it. It learns it and it amplifies it. Take facial recognition tools. Some companies have developed systems to track student engagement by scanning their expressions during online learning. But these tools often perform worse on students with darker skin tones or on neurodivergent students who don't express emotion the same way. So, a student who's fully engaged might be flagged as distracted just because the model doesn't recognize their face. That's not just a bad guess, that's a false judgment. And in a classroom, false judgments can have real consequences. Bias can show up in language too. AI writing assistants may score certain styles or word choices more favorably if they match what the model was trained on, often standard American English. That leaves students from different linguistic or cultural backgrounds at a disadvantage, subtly penalized for writing in a way that reflects who they are. This leads to the next layer of concern. Who gets to challenge the algorithm? If a teacher disagrees with a system's recommendation, will they feel empowered to override it or will they defer to the data? If a parent wants to know how a student's risk score was calculated, can they get a clear answer or just a generic explanation about machine learning? This isn't paranoia, it's pattern recognition. Across industries, healthcare, hiring, law enforcement, we've seen what happens when AI systems make high stakes decisions without transparency. Education has to learn from those mistakes because the stakes here are just as high, maybe higher. And then there's the impact on teachers themselves. The story we often hear is that AI frees teachers from busy work. And sometimes that's true. But it can also mean teachers are expected to rely on tools they don't fully understand, interpret dashboards without context, or implement insights generated by systems trained on data from entirely different populations. Some teachers report feeling more like operators than educators, expected to trust the model and justify themselves if they don't. That flips the power dynamic. Teachers used to be the experts. Now, in some schools, the system tells them what's working, whether or not it actually is. What's worse, most of these systems come with little to no training. One study found that nearly 60% of teachers using AI tools had received no formal instruction on how to use them, interpret their outputs, or understand their limitations. That's not innovation. That's abandonment. The solution isn't to abandon AI in education, it's to implement it with eyes wide open. That means clear data policies, audits for bias, consent mechanisms that actually make sense, interfaces that explain, not just output, and maybe most importantly, room for disagreement. If a student feels misrepresented by a system, there should be a way to challenge it. If a teacher sees nuance the data missed, that insight should matter. The system should serve the people, not the other way around. Because in the rush to optimize, we can't forget what education is for. It's not about efficiency, it's about growth. It's not about ranking students, it's about empowering them. And no machine, no matter how smart, should ever be the final word on a human being's potential. Thanks for watching. Check out the references in the description to explore further.